Hey everybody, JC here with another TNI toy review. And this is another review in association with MarvelousNews.com, your number one source for everything Marvel. And today we're going to take a look at another one of the new Wolverine Legends 6-inch figures. This time we're taking a look at the star of the series, Wolverine. And right off with the packaging, it's pretty much exactly the same as the Emma Frost figure that we showed you yesterday. Wolverine up at the top with the Wolverine logo. Then you've got red and yellow highlights. The X-Men symbol in the back. And then the Marvel Legends name at the bottom with the Wolverine's name there. Very basic, very, you do get a good look at the figure inside the blister packaging. You can see the display stand that it comes with, but overall pretty simple. And in fact, if you've seen the 3 1/4 inch scale Wolverine figures on sale at like regular retail, those ones with like 3 points of articulation, it's pretty much the same kind of packaging that you saw with those. So on the back, there's a picture of the figure, a little bio that says, Wolverine. Is Wolverine the ultimate weapon? With claws like that, it's Mr. Ultimate Weapon to you, bub. And then there's a comic book art of the character. Again, I'm not sure who's drawing the comic book art on these. And then below is showing the Build-A-Figure for this wave and the 3 other figures that you have to get to be able to complete Puck. Now, you should note, in this case, they actually are showing the Rogue figure, which is the swap figure that actually will not be released at this time. Emma Frost is the one that's actually being released in the line and has the torso piece. But I guess they didn't update the packaging when they changed the actual lineup and canceled the swap figures, which happened basically when this line ended up becoming a previews exclusive. So it's only shipping through Diamond distributors to comic and specialty stores and not the large retailers. So that's about it for the packaging. Again, very simple, very basic. And if you didn't notice, this particular figure, Wolverine, actually you do not need to get if you want to complete the Puck Build-A-Figure in this series. He's the only figure you don't have to get in order to complete Puck, and he just comes with a display stand as opposed to a Build-A-Figure piece. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging. Now, if you've been collecting, Hasbro's Marvel Legends figures, and you have the more recent X-Force Wolverine figure, then you're going to be very familiar with what you're getting here, because basically it is the exact same figure as the X-Force Wolverine that they released first as a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and then later on a single card. Exact same sculpt, just repainted with different colors. So that being said, it's a very solid sculpt for Wolverine. It's got a lot of good articulation, good feel to it, and overall looks good. So there's really no complaints with the sculpt of the figure itself. Now I will say I'm a little bit disappointed with some of the paint jobs on this particular version of Wolverine. Most noticeably, I don't like that they didn't include the red X on his belt. They just left the belt blank. Now, I will say, at first I was like, well, this isn't even comic book accurate, but I actually did some flipping through recent comics that Wolverine appears in, which is practically every Marvel comic there is. But I looked through like his own title and Avengers and Uncanny Avengers, and they all kind of draw him a little bit differently. So, and even in his own title, like I was looking in the most recent 2 issues of his own title, Wolverine, and the Killable storyline, and I noticed in one issue issue 9, I think, they have him drawn with a circular belt and no X in it. And then in the very next issue, they have him with an X on his belt. So, and same goes for the boots. Some comics have him with just plain boots on. Some have him with the old traditional boots with the striping on it. Some have boots with laces. Some don't. So it's very, very irregular. How the comic book artists draw him in all the different comic books that he appears. So I can't say that this look without the X and with these particular boots is not comic book accurate. But I just prefer to have the X on the belt, and it just looks funny. You can see they gave the X on the X-Force version. I don't know why they didn't bother to paint the X on this one. Other than that, there's not a lot of shading detail. The arms are bare, like on previous Wolverine figures that have been released. They've put hair on his arms and stuff, whereas this, there's really nothing. Just skin tone, which was basically the same thing they did with the X-Force version. So in that regard, they're pretty much the exact same. He's got yellow and blue striping. He's got some black detailing on the gloves. The other thing I'm not particularly happy about, or it's not major, but I don't really like the color of his claws. It's almost a whitish type plastic. I really prefer the silver that they used on the San Diego Comic-Con X-Force version, but even previous versions they used more metallic paint colors, whereas this almost looks white. So I really don't like the choice of coloring, or plastic maybe, I don't know. It really looks like it's just the plastic that they didn't even really paint. So I think that's a little bit off as far as the paint job goes. Figure is basically, he's taller than previous Wolverines that have been released in the Marvel Legends lines. There's so many, it's hard to keep track. Like I said, it's the same sculpt as the X-Force one, so again, you pretty much know what you're getting. But here he is with a couple other Marvel Legends Wolverines that have been released over the years. And you'll see he's a bit taller than those. But I think overall the scale is pretty good. Here he is next to Shadowcat. So you can see that he's a little bit taller than she is. Same with X-21. And here he is next to the old Marvel Legends Sabretooth, where he's shorter, which is about right. And even here with Omega Red, the old Toy Biz Omega Red figure. So overall, I think the scale looks pretty good, even though he is taller than previous Wolverines. I think it's a good scale for the character, who is on the shorter side of things in the comics. Okay, so now let's get a look at the articulation on this figure. First, even though I gave you some size comparisons, let me give you just the measurements here. He stands just about at 6 inches. So he's a little bit shorter than the Emma Frost figure we showed you yesterday. But with the ruler, you can see he's just at about 6 inches tall. Okay, so now let's take a look at the articulation on this one. As I said, the articulation is very solid on this sculpt. And again, if you've got the X-Force version, you know exactly what you're getting, but we'll go over it anyway. The head is on a hinged ball joint, so he can look up nicely, he can look down, he can look left, he can look right, he can kind of tilt his head. A lot of good motion there. Shoulders hinged ball joints, and then he's got the joint. I don't know what they call this particular joint, but it comes out a little bit when you bend the arm back there in the torso section. So he's got a nice wide range of motion there. He's got the bicep swivel. He's got the double jointed elbows, and then he's got the swivel hinged wrists, so he can bend his hands back and forth with his claws. Now I would say, a nice feature that they could have added with this Wolverine instead of like a figure stand would have been maybe interchangeable hands. So he had hands without claws. I think every single Wolverine figure that we get always has the claws out, which I guess is understandable, but it would be cool to have a Wolverine with no claws out. But anyway, so he's got the torso joint where you can look down and up, and there's the swivel there, and then he's got the waist swivel, so he's got a lot of movement in the midsection, which is nice. Hinged joints in the legs, he can do the splits. He's got the thigh swivel. He's got the double jointed knees. And then he's got the swivel ankle pivots. So overall, a very good deal of articulation. So in that department, this is a great sculpt and figure. And I like this Wolverine. It's probably is my favorite Wolverine to date. I like it. The mold is the same as the X-Force, but I like these colors better than the X-Force version, so I'm glad we've gotten this version. I do, again, wish that they'd gone a little bit extra on the paint detailing and given us at least like the red X on his belt. But other than that, I don't have any strong complaints. And it's a nice figure if you don't have Wolverine, which if you've been collecting Marvel Legends seems hard to believe, but if you don't, I would definitely recommend this one. But even if you do, I think this is one of the best Wolverine figures that have been released in the line, so I think it's definitely worth picking up. But again, you don't have to pick this one up to complete your Puck figure if that's your goal with this series. You can skip this one if you want to. So that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, I'll catch you later.